Hello there. This is the Shawn1113 Podcast Show. I am your host, Shawn1113. Thank you for listening to this podcast, wherever you may be, and whatever platform you're listening to. Thank you so much. And if you like this, please consider the description down below to contact me and to reach a voice message. Although pretty soon, though, it will no longer be available for podcasters. So with that, might go to Riverside, might go to Podbean, who knows? But thank you for listening to this podcast. Well, first and foremost, congratulations are in order to Alabama, UConn, NC State, and Purdue going to the Final Four. To me, 3 of these 4 teams basically overcame everything. In the case of Alabama, especially, because Alabama had a real bad time. 2 of their players were involved in a horrific situation last year. And to overcome that and to come out of that, going to the Final Four is a credit to their university, which is basically, well, might as well say it's a college football factory there, Alabama. It is certainly not known for its basketball prowess. But congratulations to them, and that's how they overcame that. NC State, from honestly obscurity, something like that, to being the closest thing to the Cinderella we've seen this year. And NC State is just playing lights out basketball, especially the defensive side of the ball. Purdue overcame last year an embarrassing upset to Fairleigh Dickinson and has now gone to the Final Four. And UConn is basically trying to repeat as national champion. So with all that, should be a very compelling Final Four, one way or the other. I'm going to make my picks in a minute. First and foremost, though, I'm going to go to Premier League right now because things have gotten pretty interesting there. Liverpool still has the lead with 67, Arsenal 65, Manchester City 64. Aston Villa might have an outside shot of winning it if everybody else falters. But right now, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City will be are the 3 teams right now at the moment. At the bottom 2, trying not to get deregulated, Sheffield and anything from 9 points down is definitely in the process of the running or the, not the pleasure of being deregulated to the Championship League. Brentford, Everton, Nottingham Forest, Luton Town, and Burnley. And we'll see what happens there. And we're almost, 29, 30 games in the season. Like I said, we got 1 month to go. And by the way, it is now April as of this recording. So we got a lot of sports going on. Major League Baseball season is now well underway. NHL and NBA season is winding down, going to the postseason. The Masters golf tournament is coming up. I'm going to give you another name that I'm thinking Scotty Scheffler, who excels. John Rahm is another one. I'm thinking Wyndham Clark is actually good right now. Wyndham Clark, Wilson Torres. I mean, to me, it's a wide open Masters right now coming up. Then at the end of April, the NFL draft, we'll see what happens there. As we get closer to that, it's just a plethora of sports right now. Like I said, we're in the stretch of one of the best times of the year, honestly. Now let's get back to my Final Four picks. NC State and Purdue. I'm going to pick Purdue. And then Alabama and UConn. I think the only way North Carolina State wins that game is if it's a low-scoring one. Alabama and UConn. This is actually more of a tougher game to pick than you think. I'm gonna go for UConn. Would it shock me that Alabama wins? No, especially if it becomes a high scoring game. But we're going to see about that. Should be a compelling Final Four, to say the least. To say the least. And by the way, two players, Burns of North Carolina. I think he's, I don't know if he's a senior or not. I think he's played his way into the NBA. To be honest with you, he's a problem down low, and he's a much better passer. And he's a much better big man for a guy who's a big guy and can pass the football and pass the ball effectively as he does, and hit the down and becomes a problem down low. I mean that's needed for the NBA when he gets to the next level. Zach Edey, the same thing. Purdue. I got to tell you, he's going to be one of the first probably 5 picks in the NBA draft. His game kind of reminds me of Jokic, and he can pass, he can score, but he can also pass. Let's see, he has the potential. So he reminds me of Nikola Jokic, in my opinion. So that's all for that. UFL, you got all kinds of UFL, you got WrestleMania coming up, you got so much stuff on the table. By the way, before I become remiss, let me talk about women's basketball, college basketball briefly for a moment. Everybody wants to talk about Caitlin Clark this, Caitlin Clark that, and Clark this. As of this recording, I will post to play LSU. Until you win the national championship, like Angel Reese did last year for LSU, all the hype doesn't mean anything for Caitlin Clark unless you win the actual big one, in my opinion. Angel Reese already has that for LSU and LSU and the players in LSU around her. But I feel like until they win the national title, Iowa is just a one-woman team. Caitlin Clark and little else. And until that happens, because better teams like UConn, South Carolina, LSU are coming around the corner, can they make it? But like I said, one person can only do so much, in my opinion. Let's see what happens. And I could be wrong. But hey, I could be very well wrong, actually. But in my opinion, until that actually happens, I'll take the field. I'll take the field over Iowa. I can tell you, the Iowa women's basketball team, I can tell you that right now. Now, something that's been weighing on my mind as well. I was thinking about this. It's like, as a human being, it's always, you have your inner peace. You have your peace. And this is a general statement. It's not thinking. It's extremely hard to find inner peace within yourself when you have all the negative vibes here. And I think it's way too much. And I think sometimes you have the positive vibes, and that becomes way too much. And after a while, it actually becomes a detriment. Negative vibes, too many negative vibes and too much positive vibes, no matter how good it is, can be basically a detriment. So why... But it feels like, it looks like, it sounds like it's always a good thing to find something in the middle And it's that inner peace in the middle of it. That's even though everything's pulling you from like a tug of war, the tug of war for your consciousness. And in my opinion, whatever it is, I mean, we're individuals. So individually, family, together, you got, somehow, some way, you got to find your inner peace. That's why I always say, that's where I always coin the phrase, please stay encouraged no matter what, because it's always a constant struggle on both sides of the aisle. You know what I'm saying? And everything's tugging at you. And then you got to find your inner peace. And I think that's the general goal of every human being, to be honest with you. So let's keep that in mind. Let's consider keeping that in mind as things go on in your life. So with that, but the main point is inner peace, finding inner peace within yourself is my point here. So that's been waiting on my mind. So that's it. I've already said more than enough. That is the Shawn1113 Podcast Show for April 1st, 2024. Again, thank you for listening to this podcast. If you want to reach me, all the description will be down below. And with that, thank you for listening to this podcast. And once again, please stay encouraged no matter what.